Mr. Chandler, I'm Roy Murphy, FBI. This is my partner, Thomas Gates. We'd like to ask you a few questions about...
Am I under arrest or something?
Not exactly. You see, we're conducting an investigation, and we could use your help.
The man on the left. Do you recognize him?
Yes, I do. He was a professor at the University of Washington. I was a student of his.
Do you remember how long you were his student?
No, I don't. But probably about a year.
Why'd you decide to take a course in psychology?
Well, I find it fascinating, knowing how our minds work. As a journalist, you could say that it helped my articles be more effective on the long run.
Did you know Professor Gunlock personally?
Just a little.
Are you aware that he's no longer teaching at the university?
I am.
Do you know why?
I knew it. That's what this is about, isn't it?
So, you were aware that he was
A communist? Yeah, I know that's what the press said. And I know that's what the school said after they fired him.
What do you think, Mr. Chandler?
I don't think it was. And I don't feel uncomfortable saying that either. I mean, Professor Gunlock? Communist? He was just a regular guy.
Care to elaborate on that?
He wasn't some left-wing nut job. And he wasn't some fanatic you read in the papers. He was normal.
Normal?
Yeah, like a normal neighbor. What's the point of this anyways? You already believe he's a communist. Why ask me?
Let's get to the point then. Would you say that his lectures left a deeper impression on you than other professors? Or that after taking his class you saw the world in a different light than your classmates?
You think I've been brainwashed?
Excuse me?
You think I've been brainwashed, haven't you?
That's not what I asked.
No, it's what you implied. Tell me the truth. Is this investigation about me or the professor?
That has yet to be determined.
Determined? Determined for what?
How involved you are in the Communist Party.
So let me guess. Just because you think that the professor might have been a communist, that I am one too? So what? He just brainwashed all of his students to become mindless drones of the Soviet Union? You guys are serious?
Mr. Chandler, sometimes fact is stranger than fiction. The roommate photo.
Where did you get this?
Answer the question, Mr. Chandler.
I'm not saying another word until you tell me where you got this photo.
Yearbook photo.
Fine. Well, that's me, obviously. And next to me is my roommate Sam. But I don't remember the other two.
Let me refresh your memory. The man on the far left is Craig Johnson. The other, Jack Barnes.
Mr. Johnson and Barnes have since become heavily involved in either the Socialist or Communist parties.
And your point is?
They both took classes from Mr. Gunlock. Samuel Herbert, on the other hand, who didn't take any of his classes, well, he's now a member of Senator Kane's staff and is actively combating the communist threat against this country.
So again, you suspect just because I took one class, one time, by a teacher that might have been a communist, that I just became a red?
Oh, Mr. Chandler, we both know that you are. All this stuff with Mr. Gunlock, that's just the tip of the iceberg. We have so much more evidence against you that shows that you're a communist. To begin with, let's start with this, the gun. Can you think of any particular reason that a journalist would need a fully automatic weapon? Well, I can only think of two. Either you've made some very powerful enemies, or you're planning to pick a very strong fight. What are you planning, Mr. Chandler?
Planning? Nothing. What? Just because I own a gun means I'm an anarchist?
Alright, I admit, it's a bit of a stretch. I mean, after all, I know lots of people who own a Thompson submachine gun. But still, a bit of a stretch. So would you care to explain these books? Let's see, we have economics, biography, fascinating. Oh, and my favorite, we have Karl Marx's interpretation of history. Fascinating read, wouldn't you say?
Do you know what I find fascinating? A man's possessions can be taken, his home invaded, just because he thinks a little differently than everybody else.
We're at war, Mr. Chandler.
No, we're not.
Perhaps not physically, but the battle for the hearts and minds of this country is being fought every day. The stronger communism gets, the weaker this country becomes. Russia's invading the United States, and they're doing it silently. I intend to stop them by any means possible.
Any means possible?
In times of war, personal freedoms sometimes have to be sacrificed for the good of the country. That's how we found you, and were able to stop you before you could do any more damage.
I don't see how owning a few books makes me a communist.
It doesn't. But in your case, we also found this. That article on the bottom. You're the author.
Yes,
Well, I don't have to tell you what it's about. I mean, you wrote it.
but do you know what it's about?
That's not important. What's important is that it's dripping with communist propaganda. I mean, considering your background, who you know, what items you have in your possession, it's irrefutable evidence that you're a member of the Communist Party, or at least a distributor of their propaganda.